Since 2013, Bombas has donated over 100 million socks, underwear, and T-shirts to those facing homelessness. If we counted those on air, this ad would last over 1,157 days. But if we counted the time it takes to make a donation possible, it would take just a few clicks. Because every time you make a purchase, Bombas donates an item to someone who needs it.
Go to bombas.com/ACAST and use code ACAST for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com/ACAST, code ACAST.
There's never been a faster or easier way to start your weight loss journey than with PlushCare. PlushCare accepts most insurance plans and gives you online access to board-certified physicians who can prescribe FDA-approved weight loss medications like Wegovy and Zepbound for those who qualify. Take charge of your health and speak with a board-certified physician about a weight loss plan that's right for you. Get started today at plushcare.com/weight loss. That's plushcare.com/weight loss. plushcare.com/weight loss.
A lot can happen in the next 3 years. Like a chatbot may be your new best friend. But what won't change? Needing health insurance. United Healthcare Tri-Term Medical Plans are available for these changing times. Underwritten by Golden Rule Insurance Company, they offer budget-friendly, flexible coverage for people who are in between jobs or missed open enrollment. The plans last nearly 3 years in some states, with access to a nationwide network of doctors and hospitals. So for whatever tomorrow brings, United Healthcare Tri-Term Medical Plans may be for you. Learn more at uh1.com.
Well, hello, Liberty listeners. Welcome to another episode of Liberty Road. Today, you guys are in for a treat. We got to listen to Raili Clasen at our Newport dinner, and she did not disappoint. Most of the people there were just excited to meet her. I don't think they cared about Liberty Road at all. But what was great is they left knowing about what we're doing, and they're excited to be a part of this community. And I'm so grateful that Raili joined us and brought that Newport group together. Raili, thanks for joining us on the show.
Oh, I'm thrilled. It has just been awesome getting to know you. And I'm totally all in on this community you've developed and grown. So thanks for doing that. It's awesome. It was so awesome.
It was a really special night, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
very cool.
It was so special. And it was like my expectations were like, oh, this will be cool. But it was like, wow, I came home and woke my husband up and I said, that was way more amazing than I ever thought it was.
Why do you think? Do you think it's just women coming together and being in person? What do you think is the magic?
I think that, and I think if you're there, if you go to events like that, you're looking for, I don't know, just to, have someone feel like you do. I had 2 or 3 people go, you kicked me in the butt. That's exactly what I came here for. I just needed a little, something, and that filled my heart. I was like, okay, this kind of is going to be part of my platform now, is helping the next crew of women entering this time and new empty nesters. That's a big one for me, is new empty nesters, because I've just got so many of those in my own community, in my own friend group. Yeah.
I think that's a lot of what we're hearing, whether it's women who are empty nesting and trying to expand a career, start something new. I heard several people that night say, Raili's just a step ahead of me. And to come here and to get inspired like that is exactly what they needed. That's probably the kick in the pants that you were talking about.
Yeah.
So first of all, I realize our listeners don't even know what you do. So tell us what you do.
So I'm an interior designer. We've got an interior design studio, a boutique design studio in Newport Beach. However, we really have most of our jobs outside of Newport Beach. We have a few here. But I started in my late 40s, and my book just came out that I've been working on for 2 years, Surfstyle at Home. So that was just like, someone asked me yesterday, we were talking about mood boarding and putting stuff out there, and I was like, I think I did that, but I didn't really write it down or anything, because I always in my heart wanted to do something creative on my own business and eventually write a book. And that was the cherry on top. I can go now.
Well, don't go. Please don't go. But it's amazing to me that, and I want to ask you in a quick second about your career before interior design, because I think a lot of people are going to hear your story and sort of wondering, or wonder for themselves, what is that for me? What is that thing that I perhaps have not attempted to do, but maybe have been secretly dreaming of? So tell us a little bit about what you did before you stepped into interior design.
The short story is I was in the surf industry in sales. And I know that sounds like so different, like one's on A, one's on Z, but My job, on top of doing interior design, is selling. I sell ideas. I sell us.
Yeah.
Clients work with us for 2 years. I got to sell us. Like, we're good to work with. We have a very organized and professional team that also lets loose with really good design. So the surf industry, I lobbed onto the creatives at Quiksilver and Paul Frank. And even though I was in the sales department, I kind of hung out with those guys. Like, I'm like, well, where are you guys going? Our party's over here. I'm like, I'm going to their party.
And when you were in sales, you were there for a while. Like, that was your career. It's not like you were itching to get out. That was your career.
That was my career. All in the surf industry. Raisins, which was a swimwear company, then Quiksilver for, gosh, how long was I there? Probably 9 years. And then I went over to Paul Frank, and then this whole thing went down.
And how did this whole thing go down? Like, are you having a glass of wine at your house and saying, I got to do something different. I'm in my later 40s and I want to experience something else. What happened?
Yeah, when I was in that industry, it's a very young industry, and I loved that. I didn't want to go too far. I kind of knew, okay, exploration, it's so fun, but I also was like, what else? What else is there?
Yeah.
And you and I have talked about it. I have all this knowledge now and experience. Yeah. And really what happened was I left that industry and I started my own hip housewares line with my best friend called Alice Supply Co. So that's really the catalyst. So when I did that, my husband and I bought a house that was completely like sliding down the hill, ranch house. Got someone to help me with the interior design, and she bailed. Like 2 weeks in, she got engaged and moved to England. So I'm like, I'm doing it. I've got a West Elm catalog and a restoration catalog, and I'll go to the flea market, and this will all be easy. And I'll go to the tile store down the street, which is exactly what happened. So I knew nothing, 0.0, and best thing I ever did. And it was just like, and then it got in a couple magazines. We sold our company.
Wait. Stop. Okay, so I've redone a house, and I know lots of people have redone a house. It's not in any magazines. How did that happen? Like, that's a big part of the story.
Well, that's when I was talking about the catalyst with Alice Supply Co.
Yeah.
That got tons of press. Our little line got in Arc Digest, Eldecor, like day one. Oprah's top 10 list. It was very cool. The sales were tough because we couldn't figure out the manufacturing part of it. So all those editors, after we launched our cool toolboxes, dustpans, those editors came back and was like, well, what does your house look like? And I'm like, oh, you don't want my house. Trust me. But then after I did the house, you guys might want to take a look at this. So that's how I got that first piece of press.
So you had in you, from wanting to hang out with the cool design team when you were in the surf industry to developing this product line with your best friend, you had this creative itch that you were exercising in your own house design and in the tool and houseware product design. Like, that was a part of Raili.
Yeah, 100%. Now that I look back, it's very clear to me that I've always loved interior design. I just didn't know it. I didn't know what it was called. I used to redo my room every freaking 6 months or something. It's always been a part of me. I just didn't know it. And then I had the opportunity. This house that I'm talking about, the house, also got on a home tour. So the home tours is a big high school fundraiser, huge fundraiser. So my house was on it, and I'm like, I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to put some business cards out and see what happens. And that's really how it started. Then I got a lot of little jobs, and then they get bigger and bigger, and then that's the end story.
And you had said at the dinner, which I thought was interesting, I mean, I loved that you created these cards and put them out and was like, what the heck? I have nothing to lose. Like, it's my house. If you like it, take a card, call me. I'm available. But you talked about having to take some free jobs.
Oh, yeah.
And not get paid very much. Like, I think there was even somebody in the audience that you were like, you got a good deal from me.
She did.
How does that feel when you're pushing 50 to be financially going backwards? Like, it must have felt a little uncomfortable, or did it?
How do I say this? I did very well in the surf industry.
Yeah.
So that is a big stress that I tell people, like, having financial security or a husband that can support you or a second job or something is a big part of it, because you need to make a living. And when you start out in interior design, you do not.
Yeah.
It's small potatoes. Yeah. So I'm a good saver. My husband was very well employed. So that part of the stress wasn't top of the heap.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that and being truthful, because I think it's important that the listener hears that part of it, whether it's something that they can step into because they come from similar circumstances, or it's something they plan and prepare for before they take that leap. So
Totally.
I always appreciate that. I always say we can't empower people if we're not telling them the truth. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's true.
And tell us a little bit about, you're in sales. It's very focused. You have some guardrails. You know what your job is and what it's not. You've got other support around you. That's very different than going out on your own, being an entrepreneur, and really having ownership over the whole process, like A to Z. What's been the hardest part of that, and what have you sort of really enjoyed about that?
First of all, my biggest joy was like, that first person, well, I got one big job. I got a lot of little ones. And one person took a big old leap of faith and was like, you're doing my awesome brand new house. Wow. And I was like, you are kidding me. I was like, I felt like the biggest fraud. I almost wanted to turn myself into the powers that be. Like, someone arrest me because I'm a fraud. But that was so exciting to me. After that, I felt like I'm going to be an interior designer. That is what I'm going to do. And it just went from there. It was all word of mouth back then. I think my first 8 projects were all moms at my kids' school. That is terrifying because you're like, one of these ladies, and everybody likes to chat, one of these ladies is not going to like something I did or something I said.
That Raili over there. She's a piece of work.
So I was very nervous around that time, and I was probably, well, I'm sure we'll talk about this, but as you grow older, you also have more confidence. Yeah. And I was like, well, if it doesn't work out, I'm sure I'll find something else. But because I'm like, I'm doing this thing my way. And I wouldn't have said that to myself early 30s, early 40s. I would not have had the confidence to do that. So that's why it was a gift doing this later, because I was like, I'm doing this my way. If people want to hire me for it, that's awesome. If they don't, then I'll find something else. I'll have a good cry and then I'll move on.
And when you talk about your way as a designer, I think there are some designers that have their stamp, their brand. I don't mean their brand as a company. I mean their brand as a design, like a style. And they come into homes and it's like, oh, this is a Raili house, right? People just know. And then there are other designers that really curate what the client wants, right? What the client's vision is. Who are you? Where are you on that spectrum?
We've done so many types of houses, it would make you crazy. Yeah. Like if I go into an old Spanish house, it's not going to feel the same as some of these contemporary ones. So I have to like lean into the house design, but then I do my thing. And I like when I started, they'd be like, oh, I want to do something like so-and-so. And they'll show me in a picture of another designer. I did start out that way. I was like, okay. I don't do that anymore. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, that's rad. Let's put our own spin on it. Yeah. But most of the time it comes from our design studio. They already know my work, so they know they're going to get a little push in different directions. And listen, I get told no all the time. I hate it, but it's true.
It's good to hear. I think that even at your level, even now with your published book, there are very few people in Southern California that don't know who you are as an interior designer. No, I'm being serious. I was so surprised at the Newport event, as I said earlier, that you were like a rock star. People were like, I'm here to see her. And it's interesting that even at that level, you're saying, I hear no all the time.
I do.
Yeah. But I think it's important. It's important for us to realize that. And going back to what you said earlier, you are at a place in life where you're like, and that's okay. It doesn't always feel good, but it's okay.
It doesn't. But I will tell you one thing. When I hear no, and in my gut, it's 110% yes, I put up a good fight. Yeah. A playful fight.
Yeah.
I never fight with my clients. I tell them exactly how I feel. I might even write them a note on where this is coming from and to trust me. And sometimes I'm even like, if you don't like it, I'll buy it back. Or if you don't like it, I will spend the money to repaint. And like I did that a couple times at the Surf Ranch project I did. It's a gut thing. Design's a gut thing.
Yeah.
So I want to do cool projects, but they all like, I have a surf style, but I do so many projects in Montana and Utah that they just want a little bit of a California edge.
And what's been the most fun part about running your own business?
I love working with people. I'm very motivated by socialization. So it's fun. The girls and I, and my husband works here too now. I look forward to all of us sitting around the table. Half of them are like on dating apps and just the fun part. And all of us love when we're all here together and we are sharing ideas and we're collaborating. And that's my favorite part. Running a business, I mean, my husband now, thank goodness, does all the stuff like payroll and taxes and sales tax, which I hate all that stuff. I was never any good at it. Now I get to just focus on getting jobs, where the sales comes in, overseeing every single design job, and just trying to enjoy the ride. If I'm not having fun or loving this, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I have days like that for sure.
Of course.
Oh my goodness,
of course.
for sure. Yeah.
It strikes me as you were saying that about your husband stepping into his role and everybody being so happy, when they're all in the office together, that when most of us go out to do something entrepreneurial, we're focused on the thing we're going to do. If you love baking cupcakes and you want to start a cupcake shop, it's because you liked that part of it. And soon you start to realize that you're having to run the business and you're actually not making cupcakes that often.
I know.
And it can be the thing that makes or breaks you as a business person early on. And then the other part of it is creating culture, that as much as you're designing people's homes, you're creating culture in your company. You're creating an environment that all those people want to grow in, learn in, be connected in. And somehow you've been able to do that, as you're talking about all these people love being together and working together on a team. Have you been good at that? Was that a natural thing for you?
So that's a trick. So I think I've been good at it up to a point. I'm not a good onboarder, and I'm a terrible. I mean, it's so sad, the new people that come. I'm like, yeah, I don't really do that. Can you just come in and dive?
Just start.
And I need independent workers in here anyways, because I oversee all the design, but I'm not in the trenches anymore.
Yeah.
That's what I hired people for. But the other day, it was just a few days ago, maybe Friday or Thursday, I was with one of my designers and we were in it. We had the samples. We were on Pinterest. We had tears. We had everything going on. And I stopped and I said, I haven't felt this joyful in weeks, because I'm having all kinds of meetings and we're looking at cabinet red lines and that kind of thing. And it was just so much fun. I said, this moment is not lost on me. We are giggling. We are thinking, this is it. We literally are like, this is it, 100%. And so I don't think I've been great about balancing, just because the company's grown and I've had to sort of sometimes it gets a little lonely because I really want to be in the trenches more.
Well, plus you've been writing this book and doing all the book stuff.
Oh my God, that took so much time. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not over. I mean, you're still sort of doing this book tour, whether it's going to events and signing books and the excitement that comes with that. And books have a limited season. You got to capitalize on them. And by the way, everyone should get the book. We'll make sure to have a link in the show notes.
Oh, thank you.
So when you were doing surf sales in the industry and had a corporate job, at that point, did you have an itch to do something entrepreneurial? And that's where the toolbox company, I know it was housewares, but where that came from?
There was a group of us girls were all like, what's next? Like, we cannot be going to trade shows in our 50s. We can't. Yeah. Because they're wild. And so we kind of would get together once a month, and there were like 5 of us. And my one girlfriend who didn't end up going in business with me, she goes, you know what? I want a cool broom that I leave out. It's so cool. I want to leave it out and not put it in the broom closet. I went nuts. I'm like, that's it. And then my best friend, another girl in there, was like, let's do it. And then those girls all kind of figured other stuff out to do, but we went for it. And it was awesome. The production part killed us because we were going to China all the time. We didn't know our way around. And so we're trying to sell $100 toolboxes, which we could never get it right with the pricing.
Right.
But it got press out the kazoo. Everyone thought we were this multi-million-dollar company, which we weren't. But it was super fun, and that was very entrepreneurial, and I knew I loved it. Being your own boss is there's nothing like it.
So that gave you a taste for what you wanted to do next, interior design or otherwise. Yeah. That gave you a taste for the entrepreneurial thing.
Yes.
And what do you think has been, I mean, in both cases, you were technically in your middle third, as we like to call it, when you launched your 2 businesses after the surf industry. But what do you think the wisdom of age, what do you think that afforded you in launching these? You talked earlier about you would have been more insecure if you had launched your interior design business earlier, that people's like what they thought of it would have rattled you more. But what is it that you think, from running the business to putting yourself out there, all of it, what has age offered you?
Well, age has offered me, and you and I have talked about, I've told you twice that you actually like gave me the ding, 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 ding. This is why it's good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I hate about aging, mostly physical stuff.
Yes.
But mentally, you start out in your 30s like, okay, what's everyone doing? What should I do? I got what's everyone doing? Then your 40s, well, okay, I should check in with other people. And then 50s, like, and then I just turned 60, so this is all new to me, but I'll stick with that group of just like, okay, I might see some cool stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going, it's my road now.
It's your Liberty Road. Thank you for using that word. I love it.
Okay, we got it. So that's what happens, and I'm seeing that happen all around. Your mindset's totally different because, and I wouldn't say I've never been an insecure person. I've always had.
Yeah.
Don't even ask me why or how, given my childhood, but I've always been, when I have an idea and I feel it, I tend to not bend. Like even getting jobs in the surf industry, like I see something, I'm like, that's going to go off. I want to be part of it. Like Paul Frank was a perfect example. I left Quiksilver, which I was there forever, and went over there, and they were teeny, teeny, tiny.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I know I know it in my gut, and it did. So again, I'm going to say gut about 1,000 times, but the age part, your gut gets better too. Your gut gets stronger.
Yeah. And you really start to rely on it. Like I can think of so many stories of people who are like, I didn't listen to myself earlier. And what age gave me was the knowing of, you know what, you actually do know more than you think you know, or you should be able to trust yourself. Had you trusted yourself in some of those other circumstances, you would have been better for it. So you don't know that until you know that. You don't experience that until you experience that.
And it's rare that I meet a 20 or 30-year-old that like has it.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's just trying to figure it out and fit in and do good. And that's the biggest gift, I think, when you get older. It's just like you're like, okay. And like you said, and like my ding, ding, ding moment with you was, this is our best time. We have experience. We've been through a lot of crap roads. Yep. We've experienced grief and rejection and all the good things too. And so it's like, you know, that first heartbreak that you have, you don't think you're ever going to get over it when you're 20 or high school or whatever. And the next time you're like, okay, I'm going to get through it. That wasn't so bad. Like, you know, after holing up in a corner for a couple months, you're fine.
Yes. You know, I think the thing about, I mean, it's really the reason I started Liberty Road. I had been a consultant for years, and when I was hearing more and more women saying, I'm going to tap out and I think I need to give up on this dream and maybe I'm too old. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, you finally have everything at your disposal. You have the wisdom, you've got the knowing yourself, and even the parts of ourselves that we don't know. You know more than you think you do. You kind of start to really have a sense of, I'm not good at that, I'm good at that. I'm not good at onboarding, 100%. But I'm really good at, whatever it is. Most of us are the most financially secure that we've ever been. That doesn't mean that we have, we're rolling in dough and we can start whatever we want. But for the most part, there is a sense of like, okay, I know how I'm going to make this work. This is exactly when we should be starting something. And if I really want to get on a soapbox, if more women in their middle third leaned into whatever they wanted to start, I don't care if it's for-profit or nonprofit, I 100% believe we could heal most of the world's woes. Like, we're the answer that we've been waiting for.
I agree. Because we've got the compassion too. Being a mother will teach you that in 2 seconds.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that a lot of people choose to not have children. That's not the end-all answer. But that's a big learning lesson. Yeah.
I agree.
Raising children.
I agree.
So, yeah, you're totally right. And I think this is the best time. And I've seen it with several of my friends that start off like tinkering around. And now they've got a year waiting list like, oh, I'm going to pot some plants and sell them at the farmer's market. And now it's like, my one friend, she's a landscaper and she has a 6-month waiting list, and I'm like, oh my God, that's so good. She's so good.
That is so good. That's a great story. So before we let you go, because I want to ask you these fun questions, what we call our Fast Five.
Okay.
What is a daily habit or a regular habit, I'll say, I'll have a little grace here, that keeps you grounded?
So I'm a woman of faith.
Yes.
So I usually start my day with, I have this little app called Jesus Calling.
Yeah.
So it takes me 4 seconds.
I have the book.
And I start my,
I have
okay,
the
good,
book.
yeah.
I know it.
So but here's the problem with that. I start my day and I'm like, this is good, and I know what's right, and I know what to worry about, what not to, because it just really gives you such, like, what you worry about is so dumb, Raili. That's what it tells me. But, then the day goes on. I need to read it like 4 times a day, but that's the answer. That's what I start my day with every day.
I love it. I love that. And then what are you currently reading outside of this app? Is there any book that's by your bedside? Yeah.
Okay, and I bet you're reading it too.
Let's see.
The Women.
Oh, no.
Oh, everyone I know is reading it. It's about, you have got to read it.
Why am I not reading it? I'm writing it down right now.
Okay, yeah, it's about the women's contribution to Vietnam, and it's a story of, oh God, you're gonna love it.
Okay,
it's good. It's not what I thought it was going to be, because it's very, there's love stories in there, and there's family riffs, and it's good.
Okay, and listeners, we'll make sure to have all this in the show notes.
Yeah.
And then when, we've got you, an expert, on the call, so I can't not ask this. What's a piece of design advice that you can share with our listeners? And it could be something they should do, or a mistake you see people doing that we should maybe not do. Like, what's a solid thing that we can leave this podcast, go into our homes and say, Raili said, and do it?
Okay, so a couple things. So, I'll just give you one.
Yeah.
I think people, clients, other designers, my own team, even sometimes me, get caught up in matchy land.
Yeah.
Meaning, if you're doing a bathroom and we find a cool mirror, I'll get the feedback of, well, everything else, you're doing a wood mirror, everything else is brass, and and I'll be like, well, that's what makes this bathroom cool, is the mixing metals, mixing woods. To not be afraid of mixing, because it makes things more interesting. It's like going to, like in the 80s, going into one of those cheap furniture stores where every little bedroom set matched, and it was like, and even an outfit, you need to have some spice in an outfit. Wear just jeans and a t-shirt, but put on a hot pink belt,
Yeah.
That's what I see people getting hung up on and making mistakes of. Metals don't have to match. Woods do not have to match.
You can mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, mix it up.
Is your advice, I'm going to make this Fast Five a little bit longer. Hang on.
That's
Is your advice in layering and mixing it up not to do everything at the same time? Like, I look at rooms in my house that have been collected. I got this 10 years ago, and this last Thursday, and this is the next thing I want to buy, versus another room where I'm like, I have to I bought everything at the same time. It's not matchy, but I bought it at the same time. I was in a kind of mental space, or I was in a catalog, and I just was like, oh, just make it easy. Any advice on that?
Well, so what we do, we have to end the project. It'd be awesome if they said, well, 6 months now, keep coming back and see what you think. We don't do that.
Right.
And for me, it's all, when I do my idea houses, and by the way, my idea houses are houses we buy, and I do all the things that I hear no on other clients. That's all of my house.
Awesome.
It's like a laboratory.
Yeah.
So the answer is we like to get it all finished, but we've got usually 1.5 to 2 years to start collecting things.
Okay.
Like I'll earmark something and go, I think this is going to be rad for this house, but it needs to get farther along before we know exactly how it's going to feel. But we leave that house, high five them, and it's done. And then they put their own stuff in.
So it's layered in a sense that you've done your work and it's not matchy. So there's some layering there, and then they're bringing in their own special pieces here and there.
I didn't say I liked that.
It's probably a little cringy when you start to see them bring something in and you're like, no, that was not what I had in mind.
Well, I usually try to fend that off early. Like, can I see what you have in the garage? Can we go to your storage unit? Because I had a client who had, we were having a hard time with art and getting it all finished. And she goes, I've had a bunch of stuff from my grandparents. They grew up in Newport. And I went to her storage unit and I almost started crying. I'm like, how much do you want for the storage unit of cool stuff? Like boat signs and I usually do that with the clients. Like,
Right.
what do you got? Because we want to finish this off. We want you to move in, love it. You're going to clutter it up, no question. But we want to showcase the home, get it photographed, so it's the best version of itself.
Sure.
So the answer is I try to get to them earlier than at the end of the project. If they have cool knickknacks they love, I try to find the place for it instead of them trying to find the place for it.
Right.
Get it?
I totally get it. I totally get it. And then we talked about it a little bit, all the things that in entrepreneurship that this, launching in this season of life has afforded you. But what would you say is just something personally that you're liking about this season? You just turned 60.
I just turned 60.
What does that feel like?
Well, it's fun because it's a tiny bit liberating. And this year, usually on my birthday, I just looked at my collection of friends. And I don't mean friends I met last weekend. I mean friends I've had for 40 years.
Yeah.
And this 60th was awesome because I said yes to everything. Sometimes, like even my old neighbors, like, we've got to do something. I'm like, yes. Usually I'd be like, nope, I don't care. And seeing my life unfold of all the collections of people I've had in my life and still have was so cool. But 60 is a frightening word to me. I mean, it's to me, like 10 years ago, I would have said 60 is elderly. I do not feel one iota elderly.
Yeah.
I have a young husband. That keeps me young. The thing I've liked about it is the thing we've talked about where the confidence, I want to see my life in a certain way, and I'm not going to bend.
Yeah.
And I don't mean bend like I have to bend in my job every single day, but I'm talking about like things I don't want to do and people I don't want to hang out with.
I absolutely agree that at this stage, we sort of have earned the right to call those shots. I also believe it's just being authentically who we were created to be. Mm-hmm. You don't need to bend. Like, you are all the things you're supposed to be, and you can call the shots in your life as long as you're respecting people and being kind.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I mean. That has to play a big part in it too. Like, if there's something shady or something, and that's the thing. In 30, I'd be like, okay, well, maybe no one will notice or whatever, but I don't do that anymore.
Yeah. We don't have to. And as we've alluded to several times in this conversation, the podcast and our company, our media and events company, is called Liberty Road. What has launching this business, being an author at 60, what has this done to liberate you?
Kind of everything, because there is no way, if you would have told me at 60. So I have like super cool young clients, and the surf style is very young and cool. Like, I almost feel like, okay, no one should know who wrote this book. but that's been so liberating. Like, wow, it took me a long time to do that, but I still can I still feel like I feel relevant.
Yes.
Very relevant in the design community. I still think what we do is very cool. I don't feel like we're aging out or getting stale. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's been liberating for sure.
And I would say that, I'll just add, because you won't say this, but I'll say it for you, that the fact that this book came out when you're 60 is going to be liberating for so many other people. And I saw it firsthand at that dinner. I saw how many people felt like, okay, because she is able to do this, maybe I can too. Because she is still believing that she's relevant, therefore she is. Maybe I can too, right?
Yeah, no, I got a lot of, I loved that dinner. I loved it because, people were looking for something. And I don't know, are they just coming for dinner, just to to an event? Or are they looking for something? What can I offer them? That's what I really walked in like, what can I offer them? How can I make them walk out of here going, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
There's one gal that said she's been sitting on a book for 10 years and she's too scared to, and I'm like,
wow.
And she goes, I'm consider yourself a kicker asser.
That's
or
awesome.
Whatever she said.
That's awesome. Well, you did it at the dinner and you did it again today on the podcast, Raili. Thank you so much for hanging out.
Thank you.
I
my gosh, it's
appreciate
great to see you.
It's great to see you too. And Liberty listeners, thank you guys for hanging out with me and with Raili. And again, we'll have everything she mentioned in the show notes, and we'll talk to you